When a pilot goes down behind enemy lines, it kicks off one of the most complex and, frankly, most dangerous operations you can imagine in modern warfare. So today, we're going to break down the incredible story of a U.S. airman downed in Iran and the absolutely massive, high-stakes mission to get him home safe. We got him. Just think about those 3 words. That's the triumphant message that ended a whole day of intense speculation and, let's be real, a lot of fear. But how did they get there? To really get what this moment means, we've got to rewind and go right back to the beginning. So, where did this all kick off? Well, it started high in the skies over a hostile nation. And just like that, it sparked an immediate international incident and a desperate life-or-death race against the clock. Okay, so here's what happened. On Friday, April 3rd, 2026, a U.S. Air Force F-15 Strike Eagle goes down deep inside Iranian territory. Now, both crew members, they managed to eject before the crash, which is incredible. But their ordeal? Oh, it was just getting started. So, there was some good news fast. A really swift initial rescue managed to get the first pilot. But the second crew member, a weapons systems officer and a highly respected colonel, he was now completely alone, likely injured, and trying to evade capture in some seriously treacherous mountain terrain. Suddenly, the stakes went through the roof. What happens next? Well, it wasn't just a search. It was more like a duel. You had 2 opposing forces, both desperately hunting for the exact same man, turning this huge swath of southwestern Iran into a massive search grid. And that really became the central conflict, right? You've got the U.S. military on one side with a single clear mission: locate and rescue their guy. And then on the other side, you have the Iranian forces with an equally determined goal: find and capture him. 2 hunts, 1 man. And you have to understand, the scale of the Iranian effort here was just immense. I mean, this wasn't just a military operation. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, they were leading the hunt, sure, but they also put the call out to civilians to help, even offering rewards for any information that led to his capture. We're talking about an entire region mobilized against this one American airman. Okay, so with that kind of immense pressure, how does the U.S. military even begin to tackle a problem like this? To get that, you really have to understand the playbook, the doctrine for these kinds of impossibly difficult missions. I mean, it's the fundamental question, isn't it? It's not just about finding a dot on a map. No way. It's about pulling someone out of an active combat zone while they're surrounded by an enemy that's looking just as hard for them as you are. And the answer, it's a super specialized field called Combat Search and Rescue, or CSAR for short. Look, these are not your standard search parties. We're talking about elite, highly trained forces carrying out incredibly complex military ops, all designed for one thing: recovery missions deep inside hostile territory. And this right here, this is their guiding principle. And it is so much more than a motto. It's a strategic imperative. Think about it. The promise that you will be rescued, no matter what it takes, that's a cornerstone of military morale. And politically, leaving a soldier behind is just unthinkable. This commitment, it's the philosophical heart of every single CSAR mission. And this commitment, it's not new at all. It's a legacy that was literally forged in fire. American pararescue actually dates all the way back to World War II. You had the first airdrop of combat surgeons in Burma way back in 1943. But it was really the crucible of the Vietnam War that shaped the complex, large-scale rescue doctrine that we're seeing in action here. All right, so let's get back to the situation in Iran. U.S. officials were calling this a total needle-in-a-haystack scenario. But here's the thing. They had a very sophisticated, multi-layered plan to find that needle. Okay, so let's really break down this incredible strategy. It's fascinating. First up, step 1. The CIA launches a deception campaign. They start spreading disinformation that the colonel had already been found just to throw the Iranian search parties off the scent. Pretty clever, right? Then, step 2, they use what officials would only call unique capabilities, and you can bet that's a mix of satellite, signals, maybe even human intelligence, to pinpoint his exact location, hiding in a mountain crevice. Okay, step 3. Now that they know where he is, they bring in overwhelming air cover. We're talking airstrikes to keep Iranian ground forces from getting anywhere close. And finally, step 4. With the area secured, they send in a specialized commando unit to conduct the ground rescue. And I can't overstate this. That immense show of force was absolutely critical. You had dozens of aircraft creating like a protective bubble around the rescue zone. This was the only way to make sure the Special Forces team on the ground could do their job without being totally overrun by those Iranian troops that were closing in.
Which brings us to the climax, the final and by far the most dangerous moments of the entire operation, the extraction itself. This is where the plan meets the cold, hard reality on the ground.
Yeah, this was no quiet, sneaky pickup. Not at all. As the U.S. commando unit was moving in, they clashed directly with Iranian forces who were closing in on the very same spot. Reports from the ground describe a massive firefight that just erupted right there at the recovery site. But after more than 24 hours of just a harrowing evasion on the ground, and after one of the most complex special ops missions in recent memory, one American Air Force colonel was finally safe. And that brings us full circle, right back to where we started. The official confirmation came straight from the top, from President Donald Trump, who announced that after what he called one of the most daring search and rescue operations in U.S. history, our colonel was safe and sound. You know, when you think about this incredible operation, intelligence agencies, dozens and dozens of aircraft, elite commandos, all of it for just one person, it really leaves us with a powerful question. In this era of simmering, constant conflicts, what is the true cost of upholding that promise to leave no one behind? What level of international risk, what potential for massive escalation is a nation really willing to accept for one of its own?